Hi everyone, it's Ash from FPL Hints, back with some more pre-season FPL content. As always, if you're able to like, share and subscribe, that will be greatly appreciated. Right then, I want to start off with an apology. I've changed my mind and I'm going to make a massive U-turn. For those that watched my most recent video, I basically rated all of my recent drafts with the FPL.team's expected FPL tool. And that basically generated a lot of different results for me in terms of how those drafts were going. And as a reminder, with those drafts in particular, the most highly rated draft that I had was the No Salah mock draft, followed by the Content Creators 15 team, and then the No Haaland mock draft was behind that as well. And the actual team with Haaland and Salah, which was my first official FPL draft for this pre-season, didn't fare too well. But I've just seen Haaland score a brace in pre-season, and we've got the Community Shield around the corner. And Haaland's had a full rest during this summer, so has Mohamed Salah. And it begs the question, can I create a draft where I've got both in my team and there's a projection whereby the expected FPL points are much higher than my recent drafts? And I think the answer from my side is yes. I think I can actually beat my other ex-FPL point scores. And of course, just as a reminder, really, ex-FPL points, it's not the be all or end all, but from my perspective, it gives an indication on the direction of travel. And really, it's something that can be used as a reference point. So I've actually come up with an unorthodox way whereby I can have Mohamed Salah and Haaland in my team and potentially have a bit of balance as well. So without further ado, let's get straight into it and crack on with this Haaland and Salah draft. So first and foremost, we need to get them both in. So firstly, in comes Haaland and in comes Mohamed Salah. Now this formation that I'm going to pick is a bit unorthodox as well, but I feel it's the only way in which I can have both in my team. And I don't think it's the most optimal formation, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think 3-5-2 is the way forward, but then I feel with 3-5-2, you'd essentially have to not have one of Mohamed Salah and one of Haaland. But with this formation that I'm going to pick, I think it can work. So Haaland in, Mohamed Salah in, and just to show you the FPL points there as well, we'll show that update as we go along. And at the same time, I'll show you the balance as well, just to make sure that I'm not cheating here and that this does all work. So the next player I'm going to pick in this Haaland and Salah draft is Saka. You're thinking, what? I've got Haaland, Salah, and Saka for 62.5 million now left in the bank and 20x FPL points. Yes. And what we're going to do is further chip away at that. So I'm going to carry on with the most expensive players that I've picked so far. And the next one that I'm going to pick, if I can just find him here, Anthony Gordon, high-owned player, according to FPL.team and the official FPL website and app. So look at that. I've got just over half my balance left. So you're now wondering, how am I going to make this all work? So the next player I'm going to pick, again, I'm not going to pick Palmer, obviously, but I do want some sort of Chelsea cover. And if this player is fit with Chelsea's upcoming run of games, I think he could offer exceptional value. And is he going to cover not having Palmer? I hope so, and he's a lot cheaper. So Nkunku comes in as one of our midfielders as well. So now we've got 48.5 million in the bank, and the X points are quietly creeping up as well. And you're probably thinking, no, I've got Mohamed Salah, I've got Haaland, I'm going to have just a wonky defense. Well, you're wrong. I'm actually going to have a couple of premium defenders as well. So let's see where that direction of travel takes me. So let's pick a defender here, Got Trent Alexander-Arnold. Yes, thank you very much. In he comes. Looking at that balance now, 41.5 million in the bank. And I'm going to pick a few more options here as well. So the other player, and I could push to Gvardiol if I really wanted to, but I'm thinking I've got Haaland now. I'm quite relaxed about not having him, but someone who's got attacking prowess, and I'd class him as a premium defender without the premium price tag. And if I can just find him here, who's got fairly high ownership in official FPL and FPL.team. There he is, Pedro Porro. So with him, people are probably thinking, oh, Spurs haven't kept a lot of clean sheets last season, but his attacking returns speak for themselves. So I've now got £36 million, and the remaining spots, I'm trying to make the books add up, and I'm pretty certain I can. Like I've said, this will be a bit of an unorthodox formation, but you need to basically just go with the flow here. So I could now go fully cheap on the goalkeeper and the rest of the defense, but I'm not. So with the goalkeeper, again, in this team, spoiler alert, I'm not going to have Isak, obviously. I've got Gordon, and I want more Newcastle cover with their generous run of upcoming games. And ideally, if I knew what the Newcastle defence definitely would be for game week 1, I'd pick a Newcastle defender, but I don't right now. So Burton at 4.5 million would fit in here, but there's questions about him potentially starting. So just for now, I'm going to pick Newcastle United's goalkeeper here. I know he's 5 million, but then at least he's guaranteed to start. So going to get him in if I can find him. There he is, Pope. So you're now thinking, what have I done here? I've got 31 million in the bank. I've got a defensive slot still to fill, and the 2 striking slots, and I've got a bench to fill as well. So yeah, I do. So let's fill that remaining slot here. Going to get another defender. We know that Palace actually did fairly well towards the end of last season, and I'm going to get a £4.5 million defender. There we go. Income, Anderson, 22.7% ownership. So you can see already a lot of these players I've got have very high ownership as well. So this isn't really a differential team, as it were. So I've now got 26.5 million in the bank and getting closer to completing this draft. Of course, one of my strikers will be a dud sub, as it were. So going to the forwards, if I can just find Cannon, there he is. So let's get Cannon in. And we're going to make Cannon one of my subs. There we go. And now you're thinking, giving a hint towards the formation. Is it going to be 4-4-2? Well, you're going to find out shortly. I also need another cheap option now, and this time it will be in defense. I need a defender who can potentially start. There we go, Barco. So the expectation is he will start, albeit he hasn't started any recent matches so far for Brighton, from what I understand. And we're going to get another defender here as well. And this time, again, we need to really just balance things up here. And the other player that I'll be picking, if I can just find him here, just get this right. Got Harwood Bellis, got Weiss. Again, just want to make sure that everything adds up here. So I'll pick Harwood Bellis. And the choice between Harwood Bellis and Wout Weiss, you can just look at the fixtures, and you wouldn't want to start either of them really, but just based on fixtures, the probabilities say that you'd probably may be more likely to start Harwood Bellis in those opening games if you really needed him. So Harwood Bellis now comes to the bench. Looking at what we've got left, 14 million in the bank with 3 spots to fill. Can we make it work? I think we can. So I need a 4.0 goalkeeper. Sells looks very likely to start. Fabianski, if I'm not mistaken, has started a game or two in pre-season for West Ham. So in he comes. That's leaving me with £10 million in the bank to fill. And I need another midfielder, and someone that has caught my eye is a Nottingham Forest player who I believe is flying under the radar. So let's just sort this out by price here. If I can see it here. So there he is. Look at that, 5% owned in FPL.team. Let's get Hudson-Odoi in. There we go. Now I've got 4.5 million in the bank, and you've got an idea on what this formation is going to look like now. There we go. And let's just pick our captaincy. So according to FPL.team, it's saying that Saka appears to be optimal according to the assistant manager tool. So let's just pick Saka. And I've got one forward slot to fill now. It's 4.5 million in the bank. And again, there aren't really any 4.5 slot options that really appeal to me. But Fraser is the only one there, might get some minutes. And there we go. So let's just see what difference there is. 56.5 expected FPL points. And just to remind you all, when I did the expected FPL points ratings for the other drafts, the highest non-bench boost one was the no Salah mock draft. And I've managed to beat that with Haaland and Salah, whereas my previous Haaland and Salah draft was 52.8 points. Again, this is indicating that the balance appears to be right and that I've spread the funds accordingly there. And again, there is a lot of risk because I've basically sacrificed 2 forward slots so that I can fit in my midfielders. Let's just do my famous. Let's just actually put the captaincy on Haaland just on see, does it drop the actual XFPL points? There we go. And I just flick it back again. So it goes down by 1. So it's saying Saka is the choice, but I've got Haaland and Mohamed Salah in my team for this draft. So let's do my famous super zoom in and just do a final review again. So this is an unorthodox formation that has managed to allow me to get Mohamed Salah and Haaland into my team. And this is a mock draft at the moment, but I may very well even lock it into my actual draft. But I wanted to basically do it from an ideas perspective because I knew that I could improve my first official FPL draft where I had both in my team, but the balance wasn't right there. So got Nick Pope in goal. Of course, didn't get enough minutes last year due to injury. So good run of opening games. I've got no doubt that a Newcastle defensive asset is a must-have. So in he comes, and I could easily make him a 4.5 goalkeeper, and I could upgrade one of the 4.0 defenders into a 4.5 starting Newcastle defender, but this is just a placeholder for now. Anderson, reasonable run of opening games. And then Pedro Porro, doesn't really matter. He's just there for the attacking prowess. And so is Alexander-Arnold. Barco, like I've said, is a placeholder, but hoping that he does start. So, yeah, there is a bit of risk with him, but you're not really picking him for the clean sheets, as it were. But I'd want to know that he's a definite starter. And like I've said, easily flip out Pope for a 4.5 goalkeeper and make Barco a 4.5 defender. So it's not like the be-all or end-all there, but it's really about this Ferrari midfield, dare I say it. You've got Mohamed Salah, Ipswich for that opening fixture at Portman Road, but then I've also got Saka at home to Wolves, provided that he starts. And the indications are that hopefully he should start that opening game, despite playing in the latter stages of the Euros. We got Gordon with that Newcastle United generous run of games. And again, I can't afford Isak, but I've got Gordon and Pope, so hopefully I'm expecting that cover should be sufficient with this iteration. And Nkunku, of course, a tricky opening game, but they're generous green block games after that. And hoping that he remains fit, hoping he can even play in that number 9 role, so makes him out of position in FPL. So he would make perfect sense if that all works. And he is the cover for Palmer in my team. Hudson-Odoi had a really great end towards the 23-24 season from February, scored 7 goals towards the end of the season. And we got Haaland up top. So Haaland, Salah, Saka, who are basically the premiums in this team, as well as Trent, of course. Haaland, it goes without saying. And many would say, well, you could have made Haaland into Watkins, and then I could upgrade one of the other forwards into an Isak. Of course, that's another option, and this would basically then be a 3-5-2 or even a 4-4-2. But it's the only way that I've managed to get Mohamed Salah and Haaland into my team whilst having a lot of balance. Just looking at the bench, and let's be honest, a lot of you will say, oh, his bench has just got dud sub fodder. Well, I've seen a lot of your drafts, and you've got a lot of 4.0s and 4.5s as well. The only difference is Cannon I would have had anyway as my sub 3. Harwood Bellis would have been a sub 2. And again, with Cannon and Fraser, it's really just for the cameo points, if I'm being perfectly honest. And you've all got 4.0 keepers as well. I've just gone for Fabianski in the hope that there's a marginal chance of him getting minutes, but I don't really care because I'll pick a 4.5 or a 5.0 goalkeeper in my draft. So there we have it. I've demonstrated to you that it is possible to have Mohamed Salah and Haaland in your draft whilst having a balanced team. And of course, I've used FPL.team here to get my expected FPL points rated. You can try FPL.team or any other tool to see if you're also getting a balanced result. It's an unorthodox formation, but I've covered all the boxes, and I feel that for a 4-5-1 formation with Mohamed Salah, with Haaland, with Saka, with Trent, and Newcastle defensive cover, and Gordon, this is a very balanced team. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Have I got the balance right? Have I got the balance wrong? But more importantly, can you construct a better Haaland and Salah draft? If so, please show me and let me know. And I would say that this is an upgrade on the first draft I did with Haaland and Salah. As of now, this isn't my updated FPL draft, but it's certainly giving me food for thought and ideas. Just waiting for the Community Shield to take place. Haaland to score another brace for a hat trick, and I'll probably lock into this 4-5-1 formation. As always, if you're able to like, share, and subscribe, that will be greatly appreciated. Take care and all the best.